Now, this is really part two from yesterday's story when my wife was under house arrest. She had spent 65 days incarcerated for her fourth DUI, and then she was under house arrest for another 3 months, and then she had mandatory court-ordered outpatient care. So I thought the police pretty much had it, in check. They had visited us, and I knew they would probably be coming back. So my son and I, we had to go to Northern California to check out some colleges. He was in his senior year of high school, and we wanted to go check out some colleges: Santa Cruz, San Jose, San Francisco, and we had to leave for about a week. That was the plan. So I felt comfortable enough leaving my wife home because she was under house arrest and she had to check in with the police. Unfortunately, that's not what happened, and it really became one of the most grisly experiences for her, definitely, but certainly for my son and I. And I tell this, again, it's not to disparage anyone. It's about telling stories that resonate with other people who are in this similar situation. So here we go. I'll continue the story. So my son and I drove up to Northern California from Southern California, about 500 miles to the Bay Area, and we went to Santa Cruz. I think it was one of the first towns we stopped at. That's where he ended up going to school. But I called my wife on Sunday, and she sounded kind of inebriated. And while I was talking to her, she dropped what obviously was a bottle of wine. I could hear her just smashed all over the floor. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, she I just dropped a dish. And I went, okay, you sound a little inebriated. How'd you get alcohol into the house? You're under house arrest. Oh, I don't have any alcohol. Okay, well, there wasn't a whole lot I could do. I was 500 miles away. So I said, okay, well I'll talk to you in a day or two. Okay, make sure you try and stay sober, and make sure to answer the phone call when the police call. Okay, so they don't have to come back out and arrest you. Okay. So Wednesday came, didn't answer the phone, left messages on Tuesday, left messages on Wednesday, left messages on Thursday, never got a return phone, nothing but an answering machine. It was Thursday afternoon, and we were kind of on our way back. And in fact, I was at Hearst Castle, which is in San Simeon, and we decided to stop off for a tour. We're trying to make a little bit of a vacation out of it because there was a rare moment that the two of us were able to spend time together away from this situation. And if you're a family member, you understand you have to get away from this situation. No phone call. I got a phone call from the police. They called me because I was the next on the list, saying that Amanda had again not reported in. They had been by the house and no one had answered the phone. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. She's home alone. She's been in the house all week. She hasn't gone anywhere, to my understanding. And no, at that point, I was about 200 miles away from home. And we're very, very scared. We're in the middle of a tour, and we had to leave. I mean, we had to wait for the tour to end. We had to take the bus back down the hill. If you ever been to San Simeon and Hearst Castle, and we had to get back in the car and jam it home as fast as we could. And to be honest with you, it was a very terrifying last 200 miles home because she wasn't answering the door to the police. And we really, at that point, we kind of thought the worst. Something very bad had happened. I called one of her best friends and asked her to go over. She went over, couldn't get in the house. She went in the backyard, and the dog was in the backyard. It looked like the dog had been in the backyard the whole 4 days. It didn't look like anything was going on. I was getting very, very worried. So I just drove as fast as I could, and we got back, I think it was somewhere around 8:30 at 9 o'clock at night. Pulled into the driveway, garage door goes up, we pull in. I go, Griffin, stay in the car. If there's something horrible in there, I don't want you to see it. So I walked in the back door of the garage. Around the corner is the family room next to the kitchen, and Amanda was sitting on the couch, and I just walked up to her and I went, what is going on? And I looked around, and there were dozens of empty wine bottles just stacked all over the coffee table, beer cans all over the place. It looked like a frat house. There was smashed glass on the kitchen floor, which the bottle that she had broken on Monday, and this is Thursday night, and she had walked in it, and there was blood all over the carpet. She was covered in bodily fluids, vomit, urine, everything. I mean, it was ghastly. She looked at me, and she could hardly even focus her eyes to realize who I was. She just kind of looked at me like, and it was just an absolutely dreadful, dreadful, dreadful scene. It's one that I know other families go through, and I hope other people don't have to go through something like this. I tell these stories, okay, so that it resonates with other people. It's similar to like an AA meeting, okay? You stand up and you tell your story, and stories are what resonate with people. Unfortunately, we had to clean. We eventually got her to bed, and there's actually a part 3 to this, and it does get worse. Unfortunately, it took us about an hour to get her upstairs, and I spent the next day cleaning the place up. She was okay. The next day, she was able to have a conversation, but she didn't come out of her room. And after I realized she was still breathing, I called the police back and said that she's fine, she's in the house, but she is inebriated, and it's not a good situation. And they said, okay, at least you were able to check in. I mean, they were very, very lenient. I couldn't even believe it. I wish they hadn't been so lenient to some extent. Anyways, I had my son walk in the door. I said, just go upstairs. I don't want you to see any of this. This is not anything you need to be involved with. And he walked in, he kind of stuck his head around the corner. I mean, I couldn't stop him completely. And he just went, oh, Mom, Mom. And he went upstairs. It was late. We were tired. He ended up going to bed. And I spent most of the night getting here upstairs and cleaning the downstairs to the point where it was okay to go the next morning. And that was that day. That was that trip. We couldn't even spend 4.5 days away from her under house arrest without this kind of drama going on. And again, this story and many other stories similar to this, not all bad. I mean, a lot of it is good. The first 100, 150 pages, we had a very wonderful life in the beginning. I think that's what made it so hard, and I think that's why I stayed in the fight with her, because she did truly try and to get better. She went to a rehab shortly after this. But there will be a part 3, because the next day was even more horrendous. But it's called Amanda, A Cautionary Tale of Alcoholism. It's the story of my wife's 20-year decline and ultimately passing, how it affected the family, because it's a family disease, and it's a unique perspective because it's coming from the family members. And again, thanks so much for listening.